There's a possibility you could say you might be like sending the 101. Like that's the situation that he's in, right?
I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
It makes no sense. There is an absolute disconnect between the redraft and dynasty communities on this one. Yeah. And again, he is being priced with the assumption that he carries a ton of risk.
This is fantasy football. This is dynasty fantasy football. Yeah. He's going to be on the field and he's going to be playing, and he's not going to just all of a sudden stop getting opportunities.
The fact that he already looks great, already looks up to speed, is a huge green flag for me, especially for a guy who's 21 years old.
This is going to sound outlandish, but given the rushing ability, given the big-time arm, I mean, I think he's got 101 level upside. I think he could be Josh Allen.
We flew to Austin, Texas to ask the best dynasty experts who they're buying before the NFL season starts. All right, so we're going to kick it off here with Mason from the Dynasty Flock, a player you're buying before the NFL season starts.
Obviously, we want to focus in on guys that could be good this year, but I actually find that in August, everybody's thinking about points this year. Yeah. Everybody's in the redraft mentality. Everybody thinks that they're a contending team. So I kind of like to pivot to players that I think are just going to be worth more next offseason than they are right now.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with Michael Penix.
I love it.
Now,
yes.
A couple different things. One, in the preseason, they didn't play him the second preseason game saying, yeah, we've already seen enough.
Yeah.
He's good to go. He's our guy.
You're great. Yeah.
And obviously they give Cousins all the money in the world, and people hated that I said this earlier in the offseason. But if you go through and look at literally all of NFL history.
Yeah.
For Penix to go top 10 in the NFL draft, we've never seen a quarterback with that kind of draft capital that didn't at least get a chance to start in year 2.
Yeah.
So I think we may get to next offseason and start to hear conversations about Penix versus Cousins, where right now nobody's even thinking that's a possibility.
I absolutely love this. I don't know if you know this, but this was like Badaki and I's biggest argument the day after the NFL draft on our channel, and I got roasted because I liked Penix going there, and I thought, I think he should be a late first round pick in Superflex or an early second for sure. And I'm right there with you, man. And by the way, I don't know if you know this, they had him as like the quarterback 2 on their board or something.
Yeah.
If that's the case, then why, if Kirk doesn't play well, the money is the only thing that's stopping you from making that change. And I think at the end of the day, we know these coaches are battling for their jobs. They will play whoever is like the best for their offense. And you got a guy who's connected to all these weapons. Like what is the upside for a Michael Penix like that? Would you say like in 3 years from now, what's that true upside for him?
3 years from now, there's no reason to not think that Penix can be a top 5 to 10 dynasty quarterback. I'm very honest, and I've always been honest. Evaluating rookie quarterbacks coming into the league, I have no idea.
Sure.
It's
a bit difficult. The NFL isn't even good at it.
Exactly. I'm not going to pretend that I'm good at it. What I like doing is I looking at the situation they're stepping into with their weapons. I like looking at rushing upside in the NFL draft capital that they get, determining their ability to have a starting job at some point. Yeah. And if you look at a few of those different aspects for Penix, I think you have a quarterback with a wide range of outcomes that right now you could probably get. You're not going to get him for a rookie pick straight up.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be going through and going, oh, okay, well, this is going to be valued next year, this value next. That's not the way to trade for Penix. The way to trade for Penix is to go through and look at some of these shorter term options. Maybe if you're a rebuilding team, looking at sending like Stephon Diggs for him.
Sure.
Because there you can see a contending roster viewing Penix going, oh, I don't even know if he's going to be a thing next year.
Yeah.
Diggs will give me points this season and making that flip.
So that is the only roadblock you might find, because I've found in every rebuilding team I'm on, he was a target for me. So let's say you were trying to get him from a rebuilder.
Yeah.
What is the most you would pay? Let's say, would you do an Addison in a first for
hell no.
Penix in a second?
Penix in a second? No, I don't think you can. And I would just encourage people, once you get to weeks 1 and 2, that's when you send the offers for Penix.
Sure.
Because right at the beginning of the season, everybody thinks that they're a contending team.
Yeah.
Everybody's thinking, I need points in my lineup. Where obviously when you're back in May and June, if you're going through and sending those offers out, everybody's thinking, oh, I'm thinking 10 years down the line, you know? So it's like,
I'm thinking about my retirement here, my retirement fund.
Exactly. They're thinking, I need the dividends of this these league winnings in 2060
I need to
pay
cash out, baby.
But yeah, I think like perfect timing is try to send a marginal wide receiver that will give you production this year, but will be declining going into the future around weeks 1 or 2 to the Michael Penix team, because then their mindset's not really going to be shifted over towards that long-term approach.
Yeah, last thing I'll just say, because I really, really love this take, is I want you guys to think about this for a second. Next year, we don't really know any quarterback we love. I know Quinn Ewers is there. Texas fans are split. There's a possibility you could say, if Kirk Cousins is average, you might be like sending the 101 for Michael Penix next year. Like that's the situation that he's in, right? All I'm saying is like in the future, you might.
I'm not going there. I'm not going there.
I'm saying like, let me ask you this. Okay. So next year, Kirk is out. Penix is starting. There's no quarterback of note. Would you rather have Michael Penix as a starter, top 10 pick, or a running back that we like in this class?
The thing is, at least for me personally, it's so hard to project out the class, and I don't want to be valuing picks like that.
That's fair.
Because you go back to Burrow, you never thought Burrow was going to be.
And Daniels, I'll give you that.
Exactly. So I don't want to take it that far, but I understand where you're coming from, where you look at the landscape right now. There aren't a ton of quarterbacks coming in, and at the same time, there are a lot of these very old guys in the NFL.
100%. All right. Go get you some Penix. Might be a little difficult, but I actually really, really like this one. I think he's a great long-term investment. Obviously, we've got Avery here from Dynasty Domain.
What up?
What are we thinking before the season? Who's a player you're trying to get your hands on? You think their value is going to skyrocket?
Yeah, so this is actually an interesting one. If you've watched our channel, you know that Nathan and I are pretty skeptical in both redraft and some dynasty leagues on Devon Achane, right? He's a guy last year that obviously on a per touch basis was like the most efficient running back of all time. And nobody can deny that. I mean, you look at the efficiency metrics, you look at the juke rate, you look at the fantasy points per opportunity, fantasy points. It's all like number one. It's ridiculous. Now, obviously, the biggest question mark with Devon Achane, and the one that's being currently baked into his dynasty price a fair amount, in my opinion, is obviously the question of injury, the question of the committee backfield, and that's why you see Devon Achane in dynasty drafts, from a startup perspective, he's going 4th, 5th round or something equivalent. A lot of times, mostly you see him in the 4th, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're talking about where he probably should be going, I maybe wouldn't argue with it too much, but I will say, if Devon Achane had played a whole season and maintained even close or even 75% of the efficiency levels that he had over a full season, he would be going in the second round of dynasty startup drafts. And so I think it's undeniable that, everything that you are worried about with Devon Achane is baked into his dynasty price so much that I'm willing to just take a shot in the 4th round, even sometimes the 4-5 turn, get him on my dynasty roster. If for some reason he's not good for the next 3 years, I lost a 4th or 5th round pick. That sucks, but you're talking about a guy that if he does what he did last year on a consistent basis, is a 1-2 turn level dynasty player. Absolutely no doubt.
Well, it's funny because in a redraft league right now, it's always funny when a redraft player is mispriced in Dynasty, but for some reason a younger player in Dynasty is going later. So in redraft right now, Achane's like a solidified 2nd round pick.
And if that price is warranted in redraft, that means he's going to be a stud this year.
Yeah.
If he is a stud this year, his dynasty value is going to go up 2 rounds.
And he's a young player.
It makes no sense. There is an absolute disconnect between the redraft and dynasty communities on this one. And again, I'm not a guy that loves to inherit a ton of risk onto my dynasty portfolio for the most part. And even with that being said, Devon Achane, he is being priced with the assumption that he carries a ton of risk. And so when you're looking at the guys going around him in that range, I mean, you're getting some receivers there, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, guys like that. But the running backs there, I mean, James Cook is mostly already off the board at that point. You've got Kenneth Walker if you want to take him. But most of the guys in that range, you're not really looking to take because, in Dynasty, there's kind of a weird 2-round period there where you're not super comfortable with any of those running backs. And with Achane, he easily has the highest upside. He's easily in the best offense, right? And he easily projects to be the best Dynasty running back if he can just stay on the field. And so I think it's great value.
Logistically, I think you're going to have to send an early first in 2025. If we play this out conviction-wise, that's a good running back class, a lot of superstar names potentially, and you're comfortable doing that?
I mean, how many of the running backs coming in next year in the early 25 firsts are going to go to the Miami Dolphins, which is the best offense for running backs in the league? Probably not. I mean, you've got Raheem Mostert there, and even if Raheem Mostert has a good year this year, which I think Raheem Mostert can be good, he's not going to be there forever, right? The dude is already 45, and you can tell he is very close to using a cane while he's on the field. And so with that, I mean, I think that Devon Achane is in the situation that you would dream of one of next year's running backs being. Now, I obviously would shoot for a mid-first. I think you could get it done for a mid-first. I think there are a lot of people that are super skeptical on Achane. Maybe we have something to do with that. We have not been super high on him. But again, with that being said, any of the guys around him, since I like him so much at value, if you have enough wide receiver depth to send a wide receiver in that range for Devon Achane, I like that. Obviously, try to do a 2-for-2 there and maybe insulate your value a little bit. But even down tiering maybe from in the hot take, even down tiering from a JT or Saquon and going into Devon Achane, I like that. You see JT and Saquon going now. Saquon's consistently in the 4th. You see JT going into 3-4 turn. I like those deals in Dynasty, and honestly, in that range, in that value range, he's one of my favorite players. So.
All right. Go buy some Achane before he takes off. We've got another member of the Dynasty domain here with us, Nathan, a player you're trying to buy everywhere before the NFL season begins.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster of emotions and prices and takes with Jordan Addison all offseason. And now his price is to a point where it's absolutely worth taking him and buying him right now before the season begins. A lot of that is going to be because of TJ Hockenson not being in the lineup until probably week 6 to 8. And as big of a Hockenson stan as I am, Addison's the second option there. And Sam Darnold and that situation as a whole, I think, is being slept on quite a bit. I mean, you're seeing how pass heavy they were even last year with Nick Mullins and Jaron Hall, who can barely be on rosters.
Yeah.
And we're able to help Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison still produce, and Hockenson still produce. It was less consistent, and it was less of a crazy high ceiling with Kirk Cousins, but Sam Darnold is like the perfect in-between. Yeah. He's like not as great as Kirk Cousins. He's a fringe starter, worthy of being a starter. He got the opportunity again, and way, way better than the guys that were playing QB last year for the Vikings. So I think Kevin O'Connell as a head coach is still underrated, as successful as he's been, and he's going to get Addison the ball. I understand the legal stuff has been an issue with Addison. I understand you shouldn't drink and drive. This is fantasy football. This is Dynasty fantasy football. Yeah. And he's going to be on the field and he's going to be playing, and he's not going to just all of a sudden stop getting opportunities. Yeah. The touchdowns will probably come down. The touchdown rate will come down, but we can worry about that once Hockenson gets back on the field. Like Hockenson, there's a good chance that he ends up again being a more comfortable option for Sam Darnold down the line towards the end of the season. But until we have to worry about that, I'm taking Addison when I know he's probably going to be at his best producing in the first 6 to 8 weeks of the season.
So I love that you brought up Kevin O'Connell, because his entire career has been full of multiple productive fantasy receivers, right? We've seen that in Minnesota, and even before that, he was with the Rams. You know, you think Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, you think Brandon Cooks days. So he is so important to that offense. I actually think he's more important than a quarterback change, as crazy as that sounds.
I agree with you.
Obviously, it's a downgrade, but you look at a guy like Addison, how rare is it that you can get a player who produced as a rookie going into his second year at an affordable price? And you have seen J.J. McCarthy play, and he doesn't look bad. Like, he looks pretty good. Addison, by the way, one of 3 receivers in the last 25 years as a rookie to put up 70 receptions, over 900 receiving yards and 10 touchdowns. The other 2 names, Odell Beckham Jr., Jamar Chase.
Wow.
And now you're able to get him like a couple seconds, maybe.
Right. And obviously has a cap ceiling because he's always going to be tied to Justin Jefferson unless he demands a contract and moves on in this day and age after his 4th year. But I mean, that's way down the line. And with Addison, like, here's the one knock on Kevin O'Connell as a coach, and it benefits Jordan Addison. They have not figured out the run game yet since he's been the head coach there. Yep. Part of it has been Dalvin Cook, obviously, on the decline, and then they lose him, and they haven't really invested in a running back since then. That is part of it. But also, like, schematically, they're just not there yet. Sure. And that's kind of been a common trend with guys that have, trained under Sean McVay. Because McVay didn't really even figure it out until last year without Todd Gurley. So I think that's, again, you saw that last season. No Kirk Cousins. They still had to pass the ball because they had no run game.
They had to. And, they just lost Danielle Hunter, probably their best defensive player anyway. Yep. So, like, it's not like you can make the case, well, I bet they want to run the ball, but they're going to be in positions in that division where they're going to have to throw. So, go buy some Addison, especially in a deeper starting lineup, I'd say. He's a very, very good trade target. We're talking about a lot of trade targets today, but maybe you're thinking, what about my team? Do these targets fit my team? Well, if you want us to have a look at your squad, it's very easy. You can get a live team review from us by becoming a Mother Flocker member with the promo code LAND. The other option is, regardless of what promo code you used, you can go to the a la carte store and have Zach and Badaki review your team. You're going to get all the articles, databases, rankings on the site, and it is getting better and better every day. Let's get back to the video. So we are going to the Fantasy Stock Exchange here with Corey. Corey, a player you're buying before the season.
When in Austin, we have to talk about a Texas Longhorn. Xavier Worthy is one of my biggest dynasty buys. Okay. It's hard to say that a rookie has done a lot to be a dynasty buy so far. I think generally he's been underrated by the dynasty community as a whole, because when you take into account the type of prospect he was, For me, he compared very favorably to that of like Chris Olave, Jordan Addison, those type of players in my prospect model. So I really liked him as a prospect. Loved the film. There was definitely concerns. He was undersized. He had some drops his sophomore year. I mean, he played through a broken hand his sophomore year, so it's not really that big of a concern for me. And then when you think about the value accumulation potential of an asset like this, who was a great prospect, has so far passed the eye test in the preseason games, and now, if he does become the primary field stretcher in a Patrick Mahomes-led offense, Andy Reid, of course, one of the most creative offensive coordinators in the league, has worked with Tyreek Hill, Deshaun Jackson, guys like that in years past. I think with Xavier Worthy, you're getting him for like relatively like a late first-ish price tag, whether it was in a rookie draft specifically or just on the open market, those caliber of assets. And I feel very confident that if he hits just from a real-life NFL perspective, even if he's like Jordan Addison as a player, we're looking at a value accumulation potential for very clearly, I think, a guy that would skyrocket all the way to a top 15 dynasty receiver, given the offense he's tethered to, given the quarterback he's tethered to.
So let me ask you this. Does Rashee Rice worry you at all as far as how many players can be relevant long-term in Dynasty? Or is this like the start of Kelsey's decline, the change of an offense? How do you like project that Chiefs offense over the next couple of years?
Yeah, so there's a couple of factors with Rice and Worthy. For starters, they are different players who operate in different areas of the field. Rashee Rice, very much more of your short to intermediate target, get open quickly, slants, drags, work after the catch. Worthy is kind of like the deep portion of the field plus the design touches portion of the field. So I do think both of them can coexist. Obviously, Kelsey is there for the next 2 years, supposedly, according to his contract.
I think us as Dynasty people are like, hey, Kels, that was fun, but can you move on now? You know, can you go have a baby with Taylor so we can have some of these players finally like be more consistent? So I like the take though. Okay, so what are your expectations as a rookie? Just quickly, like you know, a lot's going on. You got Hollywood Brown. What's your ceiling and floor season here as a rookie for him?
So the floor was the thing I was worried about for Worthy as a rookie, because we know as Dynasty players, if you don't produce your rookie season, it doesn't bode well for your, you know, historical comps and things of that nature. So the fact that he already looks great, already looks up to speed, is a huge green flag for me, especially for a guy who's 21 years old, very young prospect, a little bit raw as a route runner and things of that nature. But my kind of floor projection is that he's a very efficient, not a full-time-ish player, 600 yards, 7 touchdown, makes some big plays, kind of thing like that. My ceiling comp for him, honestly, I do think we're looking at an 1,000-yard rookie, 8 touchdowns, creates a lot of big plays, and potentially finishes as a top 24 guy in PPR his rookie season.
Would you say like Jordan Addison last year's?
But like probably better peripherals too, because like Addison was the touchdown scorer, but didn't, you know, command the best target share and that kind of thing. I think we could be looking at like a 20% target share rookie with, you know, like I said, a lot of big plays and things of that nature.
So that's the ceiling. I mean, I can tell you if Jordan Addison was on the Kansas City Chiefs as their wide receiver too, after the rookie season he had, I think he would be a very valuable Dynasty asset. So I like it. All right, go buy some Xavier Worthy. Hook him. All right, so we've got the other member of Fantasy Stock Exchange here, Kung Fu Danny. Okay. Who's the player you're buying here before the season?
Yeah, and this is very easily Drake May for me, quarterback of the New England Patriots. A guy that pre-draft, I had closer ranked to Caleb than any other quarterback was to him. I thought Drake May, quite frankly, has all Pro Bowl level potential. And people are treating him like, you know, this big-time raw player that may not see the field as a rookie. But by all accounts this offseason, it does sound like he's making strides to potentially earn that starting role sooner rather than later. And with Drake May, again, this is more of the long-term play with May. If he's falling in your drafts, he is the exact archetype that can profile into your typical top 15 level startup pick. The size, 6'4", 220 plus pounds, rocket arm. People don't realize how mobile he is. 700 plus rushing yards in his first season starting 2 years ago. With Drake May, people are acting like he's just this raw, toolsy quarterback, but he's got a lot more intangibles to his game. He is a lot more precise, and we saw it in the preseason so far. I mean, in that game, for example, in the preseason game, I mean, we saw that Javon Baker bomb. Obviously, Javon Baker wasn't able to come down with it, but maneuvering the pocket, delivering that ball 60, 65 plus yards, air yards down the field, man. I think Drake May is a special talent, and to be honest, is a guy that I already personally have ranked as a top 2-round startup pick. That's how confident I am with Drake May.
Superflex, so Superflex you're taking him, what, 212 or something? Or
I would perfectly feel fine. But of course, if you're in a league where everybody thinks he's, you know, a 4th, a 5th, a 6th rounder, obviously play the value game. You don't have to take him to 212 if you know nobody else in your league is willing to take him before the 4th or 5th round. So play the value game. Again, in your rookie drafts, he was a guy that I actually had ranked as my 103 that was consistently going later. I've seen him go 105, 106, 107, 108. I actually got him at 108 in a league that I already had Anthony Richardson and Jordan Love in. So for me with Drake May, I just don't see a world where this guy is not valued amongst the likes of your Jordan Loves, your Kyler Murrays by the end of the season. Again, if he is able to show the level of prospect I thought he was this season, which by all accounts, I think that could be the case, working with Alex Van Pelt with the New England Patriots, an underrated wide receiver trio. I mean, Jalen Polk already looks like he's going to be a stud. Demario Douglas, I really loved in his rookie season. And obviously Javon Baker making those splash plays down the field. The guy I had comp to a guy like Michael Gallup, who, if you guys don't remember, prime Michael Gallup, pre-ACL tear.
He was nice.
Quite the player. So
he was nice. So let me ask you this. So Drake May, ceiling outcome, what would be a fantasy quarterback we all know that you think he could become for your team?
This is going to sound outlandish, but given the rushing ability, given the big-time arm, again, saying this comp is obviously a big-time projection because this guy is one of the best quarterbacks on earth, but I mean, I think he's got 101 level upside. I think he could be Josh Allen.
Okay. Well, you heard it here first. Potentially. All right. Ceiling outcome.
Ceiling.
All right. A Josh Allen level player for your fantasy team.
And if you want more so an 80th, 85th percentile outcome, we're looking more like the Herbert, the Lawrence archetype.
Which is still very valuable. All right. Go buy some Drake May, y'all. All right. Those are players that experts are buying. Let us know who you're buying in the comments below. Drop a like if you liked the video. Subscribe if you like the content. And we'll see you soon. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, LAND, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.